Hey guys, this is Rainwolf from Convention Video, and we're talking about SAO War of the Underworld Part 2, the finale.
Hey everybody, Kirito Silverheart here.
Hi, Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
It's sad that this is the end, as far as we know. Starting all this off, the scene just starts off with Kirito that he's actually answered the phone call from Rinko, and it was pretty important.
Yeah, Alice is missing.
Goes down the stairs, he's buttoned up into his shirt, he places his shoes on, the doorbell rings, then he...
Let's talk about how he mistook the UPS driver for Alice.
Okay, so
that little Asian man did not look like Alice.
No, but you gotta
all.
think he's looking through, tempered,
Yeah.
distorted,
And the first thing
smoky glass.
you would think of, and knowing Alice...
It would be Alice. And still, it was the UPS driver.
And the funny thing is, it actually is Alice. She's in the box.
She's in the box. I was very confused when he opened the box, because it says from Wrath, and they set the box down. The guy's like, "Here's giant delivery box," and it's from Wrath, and he's like, immediately he thinks, "Yes, I should open this after all hell's broke loose." But I for some reason, it looked like a body because there's a bunch of plastic wrap and bubble wrap and stuff, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "The Laughing Coffin has murdered someone and mailed it to his house to frame him." The first line in my mind.
My first question would be like, how? There's no one alive that we know.
Technically there still is.
But yeah, that was my first thought.
What I thought too.
Well, so actually my first thought was, since we had the robot go missing, I thought maybe he found his way into a box, slapped a shipping label on there with Kirito's address. I don't know.
Logical than random bodies being mailed.
Yeah, but that's not what happened.
I mean, hey, that or, we did see at the end in last week's episode, Hygo was talking about getting together with Kayaba. So maybe he figured out where the robot was, shipped the parts to Kirito, who was just like, okay, I'll put this son of a bitch back together for him. And he comes online and goes, ha, now we get to talk.
No, it wasn't any of those things. It was Yanduri Alice. Is who it was. Yanduri-chan.
I really wouldn't count her as yandere, though.
Later.
Did you see the eyebrow?
We'll talk about the eyebrow in a minute.
She's kind of like...
How'd she tape herself?
Another robot?
I don't know.
Maybe. It's hard to say. It's one of those... who knows? Maybe she figured out where the shipping room was in the facility. She just crawls up in a box and somebody goes, oh, look, we haven't taped this one yet. And ships it out. Oh, gotta meet the FedEx guy in 5 minutes. No time to check the label.
After finding out that it's actually Alice in the box, they go into the living room. Alice is sitting on the couch plugged in, because I'm guessing her batteries are pretty low.
I just love the idea of she's plugged into a freaking phone charger, basically. I'm like, it's like a Type-C connector stuck in her back.
This is like a Type-C 3.20, the fastest.
Yeah.
Let me just plug her into the PlayStation, see what happens.
She goes off that she wants to speak with Kirito face to face. She's angry with him for not telling her.
Yanduri-chan!
Well, no. In this moment, it's more of Sundari.
Sundari-chan. All right.
Yeah, she's mad as hell that Kirito took on Gabriel by himself. She's like, why didn't you let me fight with you? Why did you send me away?
And then he could have died, and then he stayed behind, and there was like 200 years.
He didn't, and what hurt her the most was he didn't even say goodbye. This wasn't even like, we're probably not ever going to see each other again, and if we do, God knows what's going to happen. But bye. He didn't even say goodbye.
And then she's crying. She's in his shoulder, pretty much in his chest, punching him a bit. Then he tells her that to him, she is hope.
That's that part.
This is a beautiful little sentiment from Kirito, in my opinion. He's like, you're not just my hope. You're the hope of everyone from the underworld, everyone that risked their life for you, everyone here in the real world, too, that you've met and become friends with. You're everybody's hope, and we're hoping that you can be that link to the future. I thought it was a great little sentiment.
As we go into that, then there's the whole thing of her asking of what the future is looking like. Kirito, he even says flat out, I'm not sure what the future is going to hold, because he has all this information from Kiko, the situation with the government, the turtle, the underworld, everything. Then they make a phone call to Rinko. She's actually not mad. I thought she would
worried. No, I didn't think she would be.
She's more the concerning mom type.
Yeah, I thought there would have been some mad, but also worry.
No, I think that if anyone would understand why Alice disappeared and showed up at Kirito's house, it would be Rinko. I think her of anybody would understand.
Then once he gets off the phone, he's actually saying, "Oh yeah," she says, "Just stay tonight."
And Alice looks so excited. She is so excited. It's a sleepover.
They're gonna have a slumber party.
And then,
But then she
Pillow
makes a
fight.
comment that I thought was really interesting. She says she's never seen a traditional Japanese building before.
A home.
Yeah,
She
she's
has
never
seen buildings, but she'd
Well,
never
no,
seen
she says
like
she's
a home.
never seen traditional building. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, you made this comment during the press conference about, you've been, associated with various different humans who have taken you to, who have let you see and experience different parts of their world.
well, you also got to think a number of them. Kirito's situation is kind of because his family throughout generations has been a dojo. They have taught swordsmanship. So the others, they might be more modern out of the rest of
That's
the
Yeah,
group.
true.
and at the end of the day, she still goes back to a giant, warehouse business.
Yeah, she goes to a
building.
conglomerate.
Yeah.
Silica Liz, we don't know what their parents' background is.
True.
Or what interaction she was really allowed to have with them, because all we see is that she's mostly been around the doctors, and Wrath has kept her pretty under wraps still. I mean, she had to mail herself out to get away.
True.
And then the first place Kirito takes her after she's all of this excitement is to what she calls the training hall. And then Kirito says, actually, over here we call it a dojo.
And I love the fact that, in traditional style, as soon as Kirito opens the door, before he enters, he does his bow.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as Alice realizes what this place is, she immediately shows the building and the property and the history and everything of it the respect and does her bow. That I loved it.
And then she goes, let's have a spar.
As soon as she picked up that wooden sword, I was just like, this
Technically,
is
it's
gonna
bamboo.
get nasty. Well, yeah, bamboo. But I mean, she called it wood. I'm saying in her mind, it is just a wooden sword. She doesn't know the difference between wood, basic wood, bamboo, ash timber, whatever. But yeah, she picks up the practice sword and she just holds it out to Kirito, and he's like, What are you doing? What? No. Like the look of fear on his face, and he even calls it out when they get ready to spar, is you have a metal robotic body. I'm like, this guy's not stupid. He's a badass. He's got that, what we assume to be programmed muscle memory of his combat techniques from every
And we see
VR
that
MMO
once
he's
they
been
take
in.
their stance.
Yeah, Alice goes straight into her classic, high risen sword style, and he goes right into his black swordsman style. And I'm just like, okay, this is going to get good. But I was like, you have a raging fightaholic, as I like to call Kirito.
Yes. Yes.
And you have a fucking android. There is no way, I don't care how resilient bamboo is, there's no way
It couldn't
those
take
swords are not going to break. And
from
thank
both.
God they did.
Oh, they shattered like on the spot.
Yeah, I'm like, thank God they broke, because had they not, I'd have been taken out of it immediately. I know it's an anime, I know it's fantasy. Y'all
That
can call
dojo
it
would not be
bullshit or whatever.
standing right now.
Yeah, I'm just like, there
His
is
father
no way.
would have been pissed.
Yeah, because that dojo has been in the family for generations at this point.
And then she goes, secret skill, steel headbutt.
Which, okay, I'm not. Am I the only one that thinks that she thought of that afterwards?
Oh, she did. She even said,
Because
yeah.
if you watch the animation, he's freaking out that they're getting ready to smack heads. She's freaking out they're getting ready to smack heads. There's no smirk. There's no glint. There's no glimmer of anything like, oh yeah, I totally meant for this to happen. I'm taking advantage of the situation.
this was after the fact.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
pans out to outside or cuts to outside. You hear poof, clong, like that loud clang of her head.
Gong. Yeah, and it's like, yet again, it's like Kirito always ends up with a woman on top. I'm like, you need to
I
turn your
wouldn't
swag off at night.
Shit, I would love to
or
have that
you'll wake
swag.
up covered in bitches. That's what's gonna happen. Turn the swag off. But yeah, she's like on top of him again.
Rain Wolf, are you admitting to the middle of the podcast that you're interested in an Alice bot?
Well, there are some hot anime chicks.
Ladies, they are ladies.
Well, you already know me and
Or
Larry
suit-
have our waifu.
And you like your
We
yeah
waifu
yeah. I was gonna say,
collection.
Rainwolf does like a little bit of suit and dairy Chan sometimes, so I think it's his type. But yeah, it was funny, it was comical, it was cute.
Then being able to push forward, or Alice in this standing, to being able to push forward now that she's not having the doubts that she was having.
Yeah, she can fight. Like if she can hold a sword and she can fight in this world, she's okay now. It's part of her that she gets back.
Yeah.
After that, it changes over to the table with his parents.
I'm glad we finally get to see the dad figure.
Yeah, it's been a well, yeah, we've always
Kirito's exact response was, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah, I looked and like at first glance, I was like, "Oh, they brought Kiku in for this meeting." Wait, that's not Kiko. Who the fuck is that? And then he goes, "Me and your mom." I was like, "Oh, that's his father figure." Okay, I gotcha.
I
I'm
think
with
it's
this.
easy to forget, like, he is still a teenager, and it's easy to forget that he does have parental figures. Like, it's so easy to just think, like, you just have in your mind there's maybe a mom floating around somewhere. She's probably busy.
well,
Like,
we've seen her a number of times throughout the
yeah,
series,
but we've
not
never seen him.
a lot. And then yeah, the father figure, he's been out of the picture the whole time.
Yeah, I can't recall a single time ever seeing him. I'm like, we've seen Sugu, we've seen Mom, never Dad, but whatever. I'm totally cool with bringing him in. This is a great moment. Aside from the fact that after this entire discussion that they have, I realize that this is the single most unrealistic Japanese family I've ever seen portrayed in an anime, aside from the parents of the Digidestined in Digimon.
There was no guilt. I think it's just not even Japanese family. It's unrealistic for any family not to like. He starts with the guilt trip, and then Dad's like he kind of ceases with the guilt trip. No,
Yeah.
the guilt trip should carry through for the rest of your life. You
Yeah.
don't lose that.
There was the
Till
whole
you
guilt
move
trip.
out.
Kirito ends up bowing that he's sorry, that he pretty much worried them all these times because you've had the SAO incident, then you had the ALO incident, GGO, then now you have the whole Wrath situation.
Yeah, it's like you disappear for, days, weeks, months at a time.
I know, but
years.
my favorite part is Mom does not give an F. Like, Mom is like, this is the parking lot. It is the field which I grow my Fs.
She's
Like,
like,
she
I am
doesn't
done.
care. He's fine, honey. Don't worry about it. She keeps eating her pudding. Like,
Like I honestly think she's more laid back than the mom from Halloween Part 6, who was just like, "Oh, just stop giving him a hard time. He's fine."
Then it goes into what is your duty from the father.
Mhm.
Kirito's like going through school, the normal gist. And then
Yeah.
Dad brings up the point of that he was like, I hear from your mother that we're planning to go to America, do your schooling. And then Kirito brings up that he wants to change his focus.
Yeah, he wants to go to a technical engineering school in Japan, and then he wants to work at Wrath, basically. The parent company of Wrath, which completely blows Alice out of the water. She was just like, "Oh my god."
Because that Pacific Department is technically the turtle.
And
Just
she
look
knows.
on Alice's face.
Yeah, she knows. She's like, I get to spend more time with the man I'm in love with, and B, he is the only person that she can think of and knows that is actually skilled and smart enough to fix and bring about what they originally wanted to begin with, which was to let Alice get back to the underworld and to make sure the underworld survive.
Then Alice goes into the whole explaining Kirito. Well, actually, first of all, let's just say this right now. Her saying father.
Okay, so Sugu looks at her
that was great.
like, wait,
I
father?
loved it. She
The
was like,
fuck?
father. Like, I think the funny thing was, like, it for her, it shows her unfamiliarity with the world still.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know, like,
That
what
this
to
guy
call
actually has-
people.
yeah.
There's, and with, Japanese language, there's a lot of honorifics. There's a lot of the ways you say things. So she's heard the other two call him this. So she just assumes I could call him that, is what she immediately thinks. So she calls him father. Yeah, Sugo's like,
Sugo was like, I already know I had one competition with a suit. Now I have this one.
I have another one.
But I
She's
love.
like, I'm done here. I'm gonna go date Klein. Like, that's where
But aside from Suga's response, the mother's response,
Oh yeah,
where
with
she
the little,
literally has her hand in front of her mouth the entire speech, like, I can't believe you just fucking called him that, and that you even had the balls to call him that, and to speak out in the manner like this. But I really love what she says in this speech. She
all
flat
that
out.
he's done.
Yeah, she was just like, he might be a simple human and a simple student on this side of the world, but the side of him that I know is the greatest swordsman and the greatest, hero I have ever met in my life.
Then his father stops her and says, "We know about him being a hero, Black Swordsman."
Yeah, the fact that he looks at Kazuto and calls him Black Swordsman.
His face too, when he's like,
And the dad has a shit-eating grin while Kirito is basically standing there pissing his pants.
He's like, "Shit." It was just a funny moment. It's like, crap, how'd they find out about that?
These are funny and they're heartfelt, and I love every minute
And
of
I
this.
think that's another reason why, as you were saying earlier, with them being where the leniency throughout the conversation happened between the parents and Kirito, I think right there is kind of them knowing him being the hero that pretty much saved thousands of people. That's where I think where the strictness in the conversation started to where it ended kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, I looked over at Asano. the minute this whole conversation was over, I was like, this is the single most forgiving family I've ever seen in an anime outside of the parents in Digimon, who were just like, no, our children can't do this alone. To like 3 episodes later, they're like, oh yeah, cool, you got a little monster running around with you. Bye, kids, go have fun, save the world.
The conversation ends at the table where it's nighttime now, everyone's gone to bed. We're in Kirito's room. Alice comes in, walking in, trying to wake Kirito up. And the thing is, Kirito gives her this, one of the most, I would say, not oblivious moments he's ever had in his life.
Yeah.
Usually everything flies right over his head with women. It's just like swoosh, swoosh, swoosh.
We now see where those 200 years of maturity
Yeah.
really taken effect.
And it was just so funny. And then like I said, what I say about that swag, you gotta turn that off at night, or
Just in a blue shirt.
yeah. He's like, I don't think this
Don't
is
look at
And she's
appropriate.
down on her knees, out on the edge of his bed, and she was like, "Don't look at me, senpai."
Trying to pull the shirt down.
It was important. She knew she had to tell him something, so it wasn't,
The degree of modesty that Alice tries to show in the situation is comical.
It is.
But yeah, his initial reaction of, why the hell are you in my room? And she's like, will you shut the hell up?
Wake the
And
whole
then
damn
he's
house up.
like checking her up and down, and she was like, seriously?
After everything is calmed down, he's made his quirky comments. Alice has made her points at him. They're sitting there, they're talking. And then Alice says she got a message from an unknown sender.
Yes, unknown.
Yeah, there's no information on who it came from. There's nothing in the subject line, and she was like, and there's basically nothing in the content of the actual email itself other than what was written. There's no identifying markers anywhere. But here's what I love. Alice is in an artificial body, okay? She is so interconnected to the world
That she
and the
just
network
connected to his
that
printer.
she pulls a fucking carry and looks at the printer
Yes.
and it goes and prints it out.
I was like, at that moment, I was like, she's like, yeah, there's Wi-Fi. She's Wi-Fi enabled. She's Bluetooth. Alice has Bluetooth. I was like, I need me one of those. I was like, I wish I could do that and automatically just print any email I had just by looking at the printer. It's amazing.
Alice is officially more effective than Data from Star Trek, Jarvis from Iron Man, and
Jarvis, he's
your
jelly
fucking
now.
smartphone all combined. I mean,
They look at this message and it states floors of the cathedral. They don't really pick up on it. Well, they kind of
yeah,
do it.
he doesn't really understand. Okay, so did you notice the piece that he puts on? The headpiece that he puts on?
Yeah, because as we found out a couple episodes back,
Ordinal Scale is canon. That is the headset that they were using in Ordinal Scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I geeked out. I was like, I know what this is. Oh my god, this is a great little callback.
and it's great that it's still
He's the worst parent ever. Can we talk about it? It's 3 a.m. and he wakes his baby up because he's got a question about an email.
And it's a great way. It's still a technology that's going on in the world because it was a way for now they can actually integrate Yui into their lives.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think that's important, and I think that'll play
more later on.
Yeah.
Asuna says worst parent in the world. I say average 2020 parent.
Yes,
you have the older generation of parents who are just like up in the middle of the night going, shit, what do I do with this thing on my smartphone or my laptop? And they go wake their kid up who knows 10 times more than they do about it and go, fix this for me. I love my family, but I am the on-call geek squad for my family.
That's what this baby is. That's what she is.
He wakes up Yui, looks at it, see what she could pull from it, anything that they don't see. Then they were going down and it's like
the different levels of the cathedral.
It comes out to find out it's an IP address in code.
Yeah. which that was kind of clever. I'll give him that. That was clever.
And the thing is, the only ones that would really know how to really dig up this information is anyone that's had involvement with the underworld to the depth that they have. Then he makes the comment of, ask if it's okay to bring Asuna along. Look on Alice's face.
Yeah, because they find out that the IP address is a direct link to the underworld.
Yeah, so he's
Yui
going to
puts
take
that together.
And he doesn't say, we're going to take you back. He says, we're going to go back. And, Alice hugs him. And then that's when he's like, is it okay when we go back if I take Asuna along?
This is the yandere.
Yandere chat.
You just feel, you can sense the emotional change in Alice right at that moment. Her head hangs, the hair droops in front of her face,
The eyebrow.
the arms slot, the arms flop down to the side, and she's just looking at the floor for a minute like, this motherfucker just asked this question, and then she looks up with her eyes closed, and she's trying to smile and play it off, but you have that twitch in the eyebrow. And I'll be honest, I have not seen in SAO that eyebrow twitch to that level since I played, I think it was Rehollow Fragment on PlayStation. When there's this cutscene about another character sitting in Kirito's lap, and you see a scene like that of Asuna, and she just has the like, I'm gonna stab this bitch, and then him. face.
It's like, good, let the hate flow through you. Good. I am HBIC. I am in charge here. Just remember who butters his bread. That's all we're saying.
Then the scene just jumps over to Rinko's lab. You have Asuna, you have Yui on the phone, Kirito, and Alice.
Standing there talking to Miss Rinko. And the thing that's great is the very first statement that Rinko makes, where she says, I think he may be involved.
Kaiba. And then they go into more, and then the first things that come out of Kirito's mouth as they're discussing things, he's like, we're in no danger this time, I think.
Yeah.
Those last two words.
Yui tells him, she was like, I can't get through the firewall, I can't get that deep into it.
Well, it's the firewall where they were trying to backtrade.
Yeah, but she was like, she tells him, once you get in there, if you need my help, I'll come rescue you. Because in Yui's mind, that's all she does is rescue her parents.
Asuna looks at me on our second watch through of this while we're going through and doing our notes. And she goes, hold on a second. She says she can't get through the firewall, but then she says, the minute you're in trouble, let me know and I'll come rescue you. She's like, if she can't get through the fucking firewall, how the fuck's she gonna rescue them? I said, and I looked at her, I was like, same way she did last time. She calls in the troops.
She calls in everybody else. Mommy and Daddy's in trouble. Come, everybody.
Then we got the underworld, and then we just straight jump into the underworld, and they're in space.
Well,
In
before
space.
that, Kirito has his little speech with Asuna and Alice saying it has been 200 years.
Yes.
And there is no telling what state the underworld, the human empire, or the dark territory might be in at this point.
And they don't remember. Now, do take in mind, they don't remember the last 200 years that they spent in there. That's been erased. So anything that they have done or built, they don't remember it. They don't remember people they've met in the last 200 years other than the ones they knew before. And they only have brief flashes of things. Or at least Kirito does. I don't know how about Asuna. They never fully go into that.
Probably does, but she probably doesn't have them as badly as Kirito does, because
it's not as ingrained into his Fluctlight, his soul, as it was.
He was there. He was also there a bit longer than she was beforehand. So I think they have like vague. So they really don't know what they're walking into. They're going in blind into this because of that. So it's like, it's hard to remember because everybody, because we actually were sitting there and he, Kirito looked at me. He was like, was it another 200 years after that? I said, no, it's the 200 years that they were there, but they don't remember that they were there.
Yeah, like because of all those flashbacks and feelings and memories and stuff that were still churning around in Kirito, I glossed over the fact of, okay, they did have a memory wipe up to the point of the speed boost of the Fluctlight speed accelerator.
And from the time when they've exited, there has been some time, but it hasn't been like an extra 200 or more years.
It literally in real life, it has been what? A couple days, maybe, since they came out of the Fluctlight?
Maybe, yeah.
Or no, it
was
actually,
no, it was...
Yeah, it was about a month.
From this point, it's
roughly
only been like 2 to 3 days in the real world.
Yeah,
no, it was about
it's been a couple days since he got discharged from the hospital.
Yeah, he was there for about a week. I think.
So we're probably at minimum 2 weeks,
Yeah.
at most a month after
Yeah,
discharge.
I don't think it's even been that long. Yeah, at
Yeah,
most a month.
it's literally maybe the middle of August at this
Yeah,
point.
it's still not
Like
that
it's
far.
like the second week of August, maybe at this
Yeah,
point. And the events, the flux light acceleration took place, the month before.
And they
So
probably
it's been about a month.
and they dropped it back down to their normal, not 1-1. I think they had it normally at like a
1 to 50, I think, is the
yeah,
normal.
so
But I love how Asuna tries to again be her usual self and reassure everybody in the situation. She was like, "Well, I mean, if you think about it, the administrator ruled ruled the underworld for 300 years, so I doubt it's going to have changed all that much." And then she looks at Alice, and I'm like, "This is the moment when Alice should be like, I can't believe I didn't want this bitch to go with us." When the first thing that she says to Alice is, by the way, the first thing we're doing when we get in there is going and waking up your sister. We're going to go wake up Selka and tell her you're back.
because she's been asleep this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as I said earlier, now we're in the underworld. All of them are wondering, where are we?
Lost in space.
Then Alice turns around, points out the world that's behind them, and you can see not the cathedral, but like the human empire
Mm-hmm.
just lit up from
Well,
where they're at.
and she's
if you notice the gap that's between the two areas, it almost looks like the human empire and what used to be the dark territory are both lit up. They're advanced civilization. They've at least got enough electricity going to power their city or cities.
Well, we see how
And be
advanced
seen
they
from
are
space.
in the next couple seconds.
Right, but I'm saying just from that glimpse of
Yeah.
the orange glows in those shapes and patterns and stuff,
that
you're
is
like,
much
okay, well, they
bigger.
have electricity. They are a much grander scale. They're viewable from space.
Pretty much, they have their two major cities now: the human empire, and then also the side on the dark territory. And development has happened in the dark territory as with being able to see those lights from space.
Alice reaches behind her and pulls out what I thought looked like the 2 eggs.
They are.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Mhm.
She pulls out the 2 eggs and she starts getting super emotional. And she says, "Oh, world that I was born and raised and
I'm
loved,
home."
I'm back. I'm home. Can you hear me? I'm home." And I'm like, that was a heartstrings moment for me. It really is. Alice is finally back. It's been hundreds of years in the underworld since she left, and she's like, "I'm finally home." And I know she's scared. She doesn't know what she's gonna find, who she's gonna find. We know Selka's in a deep sleep. No guarantees that she's survived the changes and developments around the world because she's been in a deep sleep.
Now, to the way I'm going to introduce this next scene. Spaceship? What? And
spaceship question mark.
Yeah, spaceship question mark. Integrity pilots question mark.
Yes, that was awesome. That was like integrity pilots.
And
I
we
was
come
like,
to find out they're actually the pages of Irgio and Kirito.
Are they?
yes, I told you they were. Now, what he's confused about is their names because he's like, are those different names? And they may be, but I told him, I was like, it wouldn't be.
Well, you got to think Kirito would always give people a nickname. He never really.
Well, yeah, and not even just that though. It's too like when they became integrity knights, it was kind of like with the administrator. They'd become integrity knights, and she'd give them a number after. How do we know that in this case when they got it? Kirito and Asuna didn't have them choose a name. How do we know that?
And even from what we're looking from the helmets, just their facial expressions, they really do look like the pages.
It did look, yeah, that's what I told them. I was like, their hair looked different, but then when on the rewatch, like we paused it and we looked, and I was like, that's their visors, because the one looked like she had green hair suddenly, and I was like, no, she had brown before. Is this their kids? And then it was that moment, and I was like, no, that's her. It's just the visor makes it look different.
And giant tentacle beast.
Oh, yeah, that.
What do you have to say about that, Lyria?
I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
That.
Well,
Mystic Space Beasts Abysmal Horror, is that what it was called?
The Mythic Space Beast, the Abyssal Horror. This looked like something straight out of like a golden. Well, it's a mix between H.P. Lovecraft and that giant monster thing from like the Golden Age of Justice League comics.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, like that giant starfish looking thing almost.
Can I just talk though? Like the thing that really still gets me is like you said, the spaceships and the technology. I was like 200 years, so they go from like this feudal like
Yeah, I know. That's why I had the giant question mark with
King
spaceships.
Arthur like pre-Dark Age land to spaceships in 200 years. We suck. Apparently, Asuna
We
and
do.
Kirito are beasts at civilization.
Real life has been doing something wrong, or there's been something hidden.
But I do want to know Lyria's thoughts on the tentacle monster because she's about like me with the tentacle monsters. We're very hesitant. We're very scared.
Why was it a tentacle? Like they could have done any type of monster, and it's a tentacle monster, and it just like why?
It's
This isn't-
anime.
I've seen this hentai before. It never ends well.
Exactly.
So there's something I want to point out here. Just something I want to call out. So we all observed that during the War of the Underworld, the Integrity Knights had a very, very close special bond with their dragon that they rode. And I mean, they had names, they were companions to them. When the two pilots are talking and they're just like, are you okay? And the one is just like, no, I'm okay, but this one can't go on. And the first pilot says, just, abandon ship, your boosters will get you back. And she's like, no, I can't leave her. I'm thinking, okay, so they don't necessarily have dragons, but now are we to, I guess, infer that
AIs
the have like a special AI?
or there's a
something?
creature that
bond.
shapeshifts to some sort of.
Yeah, I'm like,
I was thinking too.
this is interesting. Like, apparently the pilots have an almost Gundam Wing level bond with their vessel.
That's kind of one of the best ways to put it right now. Well, pretty much with pilots and their ships or mechs, either way you want to go with it, that they actually have a life to them, but they're not actually AIs, they're actually living things.
Evangelion?
No, not Evangelion, because that's a whole
Yeah.
darker.
I don't know. For some reason, my brain is either going Gundam Wing or Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo.
Gundam Wing.
Those are the only two giant mech things that immediately pop into my head when I think about it. Evangelion's is close third.
Or we could have a Transformer situation where they.
Yeah, I mean that's a
Robots
possibility
in the sky.
too. It's really hard to say. Okay, so after doing while we're still talking about the pilots real quick, I just did a quick check. So one pilot is named Dika Shatrinen. The page's name was Keith Shatrinen. The other pilot is Lorelei Arabelle, and the other page was Roni Arabelle. So again, is this a name change or is this their descendant?
The only way to really find out is after all this to sit down and read.
But anyway, I wanted to put that point out there real quick because I did cross check, and yeah, it was Roni and Teese were the two pages.
I really think they are, and they just had a name change of some sort.
I feel
It's
like
possible.
it was too. And like I said, the Integrity Knights can continue to live. Like they continue to go
Their
on.
lifespans are.
And who would he trust the most? Like, and who would he feel would be able to continue?
Because you obviously have to replace the ranking of the knights.
But again, it's been 200 years. Roni and Teese could have been the first or part of the first, and their bloodline carries it on.
But you also got to think the knights, once they become knights, their lifespans are a bit flexible.
But that was under the administrator who was using special tactics and system commands and augmentations and stuff to do that. Do you honestly think Kirito, and especially under Asuna's guidance and support, would allow that?
Well, no.
I don't think it was necessarily cruel. Like it wouldn't be a cruel thing to give them more time. It would be their choice in the end. It would be something that, Kirito and Asuna would be like, if you want to do this, we can give you these things. Everything does have a cost.
Option of like, if it became more of a choice option, like to continue living to keep everyone safe, or until you found a person that you felt would be great as a successor to fully pass things on.
But that's going to be one of those things that's just going to be something we're going to have to look into.
So after all this, they have the two, they're flying around, avoiding the tentacles, the blast, and then she's about to fire at it. Then you see a little star
right into the targeting reticle, and as she looks in, there's Kirito just staring staring down the abyssal horror, and she was like, "Is that a human?"
And he's gonna fight it with swords?
Well, but okay, so Hex Mode activate, as the fan base likes to yell always.
Yeah, because he pops a barrier to avoid getting hit from the tentacles.
Yeah, and then he just whips out the swords, and she's like, "Seriously? This guy's gonna take it on with swords? We couldn't beat it with 2 fucking spaceships?"
Release recollection. First with the blue rose.
Ah, Blue Rose doing the binding ability, it shatters and breaks out, and he's immediately like, "Okay, well that didn't work." Release recollection on the Night Sky blade, turns into a giant energy saber, and he was like, "And you're fucked." Whoosh.
Cuts him down. Then it jumps over to Asuna, using
Okay.
her ability as the goddess
Oh my
of creation.
gosh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is the single most badass attack I have ever seen her do. Like what she did against Visago using Mother's Rosario in its ultimate combo form was fucking badass. But this is amazingly epic. She's like, "Okay, we're in space." Open up a rift and drops a freaking meteor on the thing.
Put the hole through the eye, destroys
Yep.
the body, turns into this dark essence.
Yeah, it almost looks like some sort of energy imbibed
Yeah.
cellular
Darkness.
legion.
Yeah, and immediately the Integrity Knights are like, "Oh no, we have to get," and then Alice is just like
Sober. Release recollection.
lightning whip.
The butterfly blade just goes out, shatters everything.
Burns it all to crisp.
But when they see the blob and they see the 3rd star, the pilot goes, "Wait, I know that human. No, I know that knight. Lady Alice?" I'm like, okay, well, there's some definite recognition there. It's been 200 freaking years, but okay.
And at first, and I'm thinking really more now. Then after we get all this to Alice, and then you see the 2 blades above the cockpit.
Yeah, the emblem with the rose that has roses on up and down, and the 2 blades.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Like,
you
it
even
was a
have the
beautiful emblem.
little star patterns on the sides.
And then they fully recognize who everyone is when they all 3 merge together in a little cluster.
They turn
They're
around like,
talking.
"Hi guys."
Then
And
they're
they
just
just
smiling,
wave.
laughing. And this right here is where it fully verifies that this is their pages. Because she is. It has. There's
That's
no
why
other way.
he would be there.
She would not cry like that.
He's
and
not
see him-
convinced, but I
I mean,
told
if it is them,
That would
I'm
make
totally
sense.
down for it because I fucking loved them. I really did. I really, really did. I loved how their characters kind of built and developed, and I loved the bonds that they formed with Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh! But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself,
Suck it up, Buttercup. This is them.
I was gonna say it
The
you
expressions
know,
the 2
Alice,
of them give
yeah,
as they're
imagine-
flying, while they're all 3 of them are clustered together. The expressions the 2 of them give as they're flying towards them.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're teared
Even if
up,
they
they're
have a
crying
temple
to
to
each other.
Alice, like, you still aren't going to immediately know when you see her. And for them to call her Lady Alice, instead of Integrity Knight Alice or something, else, they have to know. They would have to know her, on a closer scale, I think.
When are they going to stop showing Yu-Gi-Oh? I love them,
Every
but
time.
I do too.
Oh,
The feels.
I know. I'm right there with you. I'm honestly right there with you, Rainwolf. Is we've had recurrence. I love the character. I love what he means to Kirito. I love the bond that they shared and Blue Rose and everything. But put it to bed.
it should have ended right where during the scene after their fight with Gabriel.
If this isn't the last time we see him, which I feel like it should be the last time we see him, unless they bring him back in some form or consciousness or something.
The way they've addressed his character, he is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that should be, other than like the flashback memories and things like that, that should be the last time we see any type of essence or anything
Yeah.
from
Which
him.
I am
That's
willing.
it was the last episode. I figured we'd see him one time and that would be all.
And this scene, this is actually where it should be done. It's like either
Yeah.
from
Yes,
the end
this
of
is it.
the end of the
This is
Gabriel
it.
fight. All right, I'd be happy done because it makes
Yeah.
sense because of the words that were said. Or
Well, and when he
this
mourned him last episode.
Mhm.
When he cried and he mourned him, I felt like that was the last of it. That's that's
Should
all
have
the
been.
essence. It's like he still has it, but yeah, it'll always be there. And like I said, other than, of course, there's always flashbacks in every season. Other than flashbacks, Yeah, that's, his, unless, I'm right somewhere to say that their souls have merged, but if that's the case, then
Even then,
it should be a little bit different than he stands next to him all the time. It should be,
if they merge, then it should be like how you have that essence.
you
that
have
was
an
coming out
aura. Yeah, he should
Yeah.
have that bright aura mixed with the dark somehow.
that just shows around his blade, or whenever he does. Because if you notice when he did the barrier, that essence that was around Urgio in that scene was what that barrier was made of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They should put him to rest because it makes his impact less impactful when they keep showing him over and over and over again.
Agreed. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with everybody. I think okay, let's give the conceit that these are the pages, maybe with their full names, maybe Roni and Tease were short for these full names that we see when the pilots are introduced. But I think this is a great way of bringing back that recognition and the honoring memory of these were the three that saved the underworld, and Yu-Gi-Oh was a part of that, and they all had a deep bond with Yu-Gi-Oh. So seeing Yu-Gi-Oh again, yes, in this moment it is fitting, and it's a nice send-off considering this seems like it's the finale. It is the finale for this. But if it comes back up, if Yu-Gi-Oh comes back for any kind of holy shit save again anytime in the future, then I'm writing off the whole Yu-Gi-Oh thing, because his sacrifice is essentially meaningless at that point. If he can just keep reoccurring, then yeah, it's bullshit. It's find another plot device. Don't keep reusing the same character and making his every moment even less meaningful.
So, do you want to say those few words that were the end, pretty much right after the whole waving of hello to the pilots?
Yeah, so as we get the wave and the ships are flying back off, the cutscenes are still going. We get this beautiful still art of Asuna and Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh as children again. And in the post-credit, I guess you could technically say, we have some writing that is popped up, and thank God for the sub having the translation at the top, but it reads as follow. This is where the story ends. But the battle continues for Kirito, Asuna, Lifa, Shinon, and the others, as well as for Alice. They will next take up their swords on the final, greatest battle of all, the Inter-Intelligence War. But as of this moment, every possibility is but a faint flicker, wavering beyond a fluctuating light.
So that gives us a clarification that information we had in the past that the anime was going to be over. It's not really solid clarification answer that there will be more. With that, we are going to do some digging this week. We're going to have a sit down. We're going to discuss everything from our first episode of this podcast to now, obviously, and then any thoughts, questions that we have thought of between this whole show.
But after those final words are posted, we see another panning image that looks like it's underwater, and we see the robot that Kayaba was in underwater on the seafloor holding what looks like a giant power line or something. He's gripped onto it, and then it transfers over to seeing what looks like, in my opinion, Haiga's apartment, and his console system turns on, and there's a Fluctlight cube box there, which, as we saw in Haiga's apartment, was the Fluctlight cube vessel that he put the Fluctlight of Kirito after the 200 years during the extraction before the memory erase. That was Kirito's Fluctlight cube. And we see the system power up and the Fluctlight start glowing. And then we see Kirito standing in what looks like some kind of a doorway. And he turns his head. We see him from a back shot. He turns his head to the left, looks back slightly towards our point of view, and smiles. But Rainwolf, you pointed something out right before we started the podcast that I had to think about it for a second, but I did notice it myself.
Yeah, they're not the Underworld blade, but
yeah.
That leaves it into a very interesting, where is this going?
Yeah, but the very last words that we see pop up on the screen before the episode ends, in true, I guess you could say, James Bond style, Kirito will return.
And this is one question I'm going to leave before we close out for the night. I'm not going to go into it. We're not going to go into answering it now, because that could end up adding another 30 minutes to an hour of this. On everyone's thoughts on how this ending was done. So that leaves it for us to think about a bit more. but also for anyone that joins us next week, September 27th, on Twitch Convention Video. We'll be live streaming our post show with questions from that we have, any questions that y'all may have, or anything y'all may want to interject with. Bring them. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, on today's video, feel free to post in the comments section. Leave any questions, thoughts, concerns, anything you might have about this episode and the series in whole. You know, whether it just be the Alicization and Underworld arcs, or, you know, tidbits and pieces that you want to spackle in together. You know, give us your thoughts, your opinions, your questions. We'd love to hear them. We'd love to answer them.
Any last verdicts from Asuna and Lyria?
We're gonna just leave my verdicts for next week.
I agree. I think I have a few more things I want to add, but yeah, I definitely think we could definitely handle it next week. It was a lot different, I think, than a lot of endings we've seen before, but you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
We will see you guys next week. This is Rainwolf.
This is Kirido Silverheart.
This is Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
And I hope y'all enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, maybe even subscribe, hit that bell button to stay up to date, and we will see you next week.
Bye.